Now this is, excuse me, what I deal with the most, of course, are the face shapes. And through my years of putting this together, because I actually took 4 of the basic facial shapes from makeup companies, and I've noticed through the years that there are a little bit more than that. There are also, you know, kind of cross blends into 2 shapes usually. But anyways, we have the rectangular face shape, the diamond face shape, the round, the heart, the square, the rectangular, I'm sorry, and the square, and this was actually oblong. Now, the most sought after face shape, you know, you're a makeup artist, right? You know, what's the most sought after face shape? You got it, right. But I also find heart is in there a lot too. Heart and oval, you know, those are my perfect critiques. Or well, at least I do hair to try to bring people to. If they have the other face shapes and they have areas that I need to minimize, like oblong, large jaw, I like to bring hair down over that jaw and open up the forehead area. And of course, always in all of my clients is bring focus to the eyes. The eyes to me are number 1. The eyes are our windows to our soul. You know, I've heard that and I've read that, but those are the windows. That's the first impression. So it's the eyes, and I'm going to soften the larger cheeks and the jawbone with hair. And then on my rectangular look, I usually like to put a little more geometry into it, more lines, a little fuller. I don't want to have long, straight hair, because any of my longer face shapes, long, flat hair is going to accentuate it, especially if it's narrow. And for, of course, my larger round face shape, I'm going to also bring hair into that a little bit and soften it out. For my diamond face shape, pretty much going to have softer lines, nothing really hard, just soft movement going usually away. If they have usually pretty strong cheekbones with that, like to make sure they're showing, but if they have a very narrow chin down here, I have to be careful not to center part it so we get a line that comes down like this. I need to keep the hair diagonal. Usually with most of my squarer shapes, I need diagonal lines. And this is what it's really all about, is proportion in the face. How I broke down the hair in thirds is what I'm going to do with the face. And I'm going to go from the top of the hairline to where the eyebrows meet, from there down under the nose, from the nose to the chin. And I always have my trusty little comb for that. Well, I'll just use this. And that's how I measure it to get the right proportion. It should be equal. If they're all equal, we are talking about, you know, the more perfect face shape. And then the width should be, did I turn that off?
I don't know, but it's gone.
Sorry about that. Woo! We're getting it, Julia. We're going to do it. Anyways, the 5 eyes wide, right. 5 eyes wide with equal parts in the thirds, equal parts of your face in thirds, and 5 eyes wide. Now, 5 eyes wide is an eye in between, an eye on each side, on a vertical plane in a mirror. If you see, you know, a full eye here from the inner corners of your eye, here, 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 and your 2 eyes, 5 eyes wide, in thirds, more than likely you're pretty darn good looking. That's the perfect face. In fact, a lot of this is actually being related to something that I'm actually relating it to a lot, called the golden triangle. The golden triangle, the God equation, and you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, in our face we have triangulation, and the closer we are to the 1/3, 2/3 factor, pretty much more you are closer to perfect. So, but most of us aren't. And that's my job, to try to bring it in. And that's your job with makeup, to really get out there and change those features. Use that. It's great to be able to make somebody look better with what you do with your makeup and my hair. So that's what I do. I try to push the eyes together, or I try to pull them out. I'm trying to push a forehead down, or I'm trying to lift it up. Well, of course, main asset for the face are the eyes. That's what I mentioned, and that's what I mentioned a minute ago, and that's what I like to bring focus to. Sometimes the nose is larger. We have to compensate with that. Actually, I think I'll get into that in just a second. But one key with noses is this. If your nose goes from see how I'm going to measure it right here? A straight plane up from my nose to my forehead. If that starts coming out further, then I like to increase the bangs out so I get the bangs to equal a vertical line or further out. That helps to minimize a larger nose. Very important there. Oh, let's talk about proportion. Here was one of the looks at the show, and I was talking about, want to hit that light for a second there? There we go. Look what's coming back. Oh, God, no. Yeah, they're trying to. They're working on it. What stands out on her? Thank you very much. Why? Larger face, right. You got it, exactly. So on her is what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a part over to the side, but I'm definitely going to fill out her forehead with bangs of some sort. And you know the bangs that are in right now are these big sweeps that come down and cover the one eye or both eyes in some cases. You know, I can understand if you're trying to hide them, it's all right, you know. I did one actually yesterday, and she said, I want my bang that comes and sweep over. You know, and she was just absolutely beautiful. In fact, I used her last year in the Goldwell Color Zoom contest, and I think there were about 500 people across the world that entered the contest, and as I did with her, and she was an absolutely beautiful model. So she said, yeah, I want this coming up over here. You know, I just broke up with my boyfriend yesterday, and I just want to really, you know, I got to get out there and look good. I want to feel better. Okay, boom. So I just did this perfect little crimp thing on her bangs, and I got to say, it looked really good. Oh, it looked really good. She looked great. So anyway, so for the fuller face person, I want to minimize the forehead. And of course, if there's anything that's too full on the sides, I want to bring hair in. Now, I actually want to go back to the actual facial shapes that were all up there. There's actually a perfect critique for each one. Each one has its, like, let's take an example of, who's Brad Pitt's wife? Angelina Jolie. Yes, okay. She had, at least back earlier, that perfect square face, just absolutely gorgeous. And you know, that is one example of a square. But triangular, rectangular, round, they all have a perfect critique and can look absolutely wonderful. Oh, can I? There's our perm again there. There we go. Oh, God. All right. So for our large-faced person, exactly what I was talking about just a second ago is I'm bringing her, I'm sorry if you can see that, her bangs across her forehead and some wispies on there, but of course I'm bringing the hair in, and do you see how that makes her face appear much more oval than large, round, and fuller? Exactly. And I had more transformations. I just can't go there, but that's okay. I mean, it's a hair show. You know, they do wild things there. You know, I love it. It's fun. Okay, for the smaller face shape, what really stands out there?
Cheekbones.
Cheekbones? You know what? Everybody says that. I'm gonna strangle my artist. Yes, eyes is right. You got it exactly. Yes, it is eyes. That is the dominant feature on her face. Now, on her forehead, of course, I can keep the hair all away. I always want to, on the smaller face shapes, open the face up. Bring attention to the eyes, number one always, to the lips, very important. But smaller faces, I open up, just as we have here. Now, I'm sorry, here I have a longer version of somebody that has to have the fringe look going in on a small face shape. So I push the fringe further back. I cut it back so that it still opens up the face and has that similar do. But on the other model, I have the hair pushed out and over, and everything's happening outside of the facial structure.